Hello, this is Cuckoo. I haven't made a video in a while because I've been so busy. I'm a bit stressed out actually. I'm preparing for a gig at Moogfest next week and I'm stoked about it actually. So I wanted to create something special. So I'm making a whole set based on the OPZ. Everything is coming from the OPZ, and then I have an additional piano sound which is coming from the beat squeezer, a small sample player, and then I'm using the Zoya to sort of add some reverb to the piano and make some loops and delays. I wanted to document the whole process, but I figured out that it's actually taking too much time to do that. I'm afraid I won't make it in time, so I'm not documenting the whole thing, but I'm gonna do it later. Right now I'm on my way to the studio to pick up the gear, which is just this small little it's not like a whole gig bag even, it's just a very small the OPZ, the beat squeezer and the Zoya. It all fits in a very small purse. So I'm gonna pick it up and go to a stage, a venue very close by. I know the sound technician there. I'm gonna try it out. It's not completely done, but I figured if I try out the whole set there, try out all the patterns, the sound, the mix, and see if there's any strange sound. It's really good to do that, to try out your set on a huge system, a huge PA. What will happen then is that, for instance, the sub, I can't hear the sub in my studio. I don't even have a sub, so it's very difficult for me to control the sub. So I'm very curious about hearing the sub. Another thing that struck me the last time I performed in Moscow, it's much of the same samples I'm using here, and one thing that struck me then is that the low mids in the mix, there was something unexpected happening there. I didn't see it coming. So some of the low tom kind of sounds, and like doo doo, like those kinds of sounds, they just totally popped in a bigger sound system. So I think for this, and also like the high frequencies, if there's too much high frequencies, especially in vocals, I'm making some vocals and hi-hats and stuff, that could be devastating, ear deafening. So yeah, I'm gonna basically try it out on a huge PA today and see if I have to make a little adjustments before finalizing the set. So yeah, that's the plan, so let's go. Okay, so this is it. I've got most of the music coming from here, all of the samples. This is just piano, like piano sounds coming from there. Just wanted to add a sort of acoustic sound source, just to add a little frequencies all over the place in a way. And I think a piano has a very nice, it's going into here. I could do a short loop like this, just capture a little snippet, and whenever I want I could and I could add more reverb, super long, very short, and then this is the buffer size of that little buffer delay thing. So this is long. Yeah, so that is active at all time. I can do it anytime, and this is more of a delay, a very long looper. So I could, or a delay looper. So at any time I could set the length like that and loop. So yeah, this is the gear. MIDI cable coming out from the module, going straight into here. This needs USB power. This needs a guitar power. Audio coming from here to here. Audio coming from there to the mixer. audio coming from here to the mixer, so 4 outputs. I'm running it in stereo. I want the piano in stereo because, I mean, live it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I want to record this, and in the recording I think it matters to have stereo. I was thinking about having a mixer, so sometimes I use this little mixer. It's not the best in the world, but it's a stereo mixer. It's got many inputs, so that's nice. I think, however, maybe I'll use this as a mixer because I want to make sure to record the session. So this, I only have 4 stereo outputs, so I could plug them in here and also record the microphone to have a good recording. That's about it. That's what I need. I'm using this keyboard is the key step. I think I'm gonna use it live, but for now, for the sound check, I don't think I'm gonna bring that. And also for my travel, I'm gonna bring a second unit, both to kind of have a backup if something fails. I have a backup unit, but mostly because I'm also gonna have a few workshops or talks, and then I think it's gonna be good to have a unit that I can mess up. This is packed to the limits, so there's actually not much space left on it to make some demonstrations and stuff. So I'm gonna do this on this. This is the MAD unit stage. This is Z, which means Z. Cool. Yeah. So let's pack it up. I was thinking about this bag. This is Electron's smaller bag, the new lineup. I think that's still available. So I was thinking of putting everything into there. Okay, here it is. So Opus Z, the Zoya, the Beat Squeezer sample machine, main output, Opus Z output. Well, that's the main output. This is from the Zoya, this is from the Opus Z, this is from the Beat Squeezer to the Zoya. Powering for the Beat Squeezer, MIDI cable with the correct dongles, converters, okay, between the Opus Z to the Beat Squeezer. This is an USB power brick. I'm gonna have that in the other compartment, and this is it's, yeah, for a guitar pedal power. So, and a notebook with a pen, yeah, and then in this little compartment I'm gonna have the power bricks. Here it is. It's all in here. Yeah, nice. You know what? I'm gonna take the keyboard as well. I'm gonna bring it because there's something about having the whole experience when you're doing the sound check or the sound check, but the pre-production. Because on the key step, I can play with dynamic velocity. This is velocity, which I can't on the Opus Z. So, yeah, getting a feel for the levels when you're playing dynamically is crucial, I guess. So I'm gonna bring the keyboard anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so there it is. That's the whole setup. Keyboard, everything else. Yeah. I chose to go without Electron gear this time, but I brought the bag, Electron bag. Hello. Seriously, do I need the piano? I tried it out yesterday at a bigger sound system that I have, and I didn't have the piano with me. I just had the Opus Z, and it sounded really great. Some of the songs are based on the piano sounds, so I should bring it, but I could probably rearrange it a bit and make it work anyway. It's the whole idea with this set was to have a whole electronic set with samples and glitch, and then play the piano live to have like a really organic touch. So it's kind of hard to let go of that idea, but if it works better without the piano sound, maybe I should be open for ditching it. So we'll see. Okay, so this is the venue I'm gonna try that. It's called Parkteatret. It's a really cool venue. It's a stage when I went to see Lois Cole not too long ago, and Noah before that. It's a great venue. Okay, so I'm all set up now. So this is the setup. Keyboard, synthesizer, a beat squeezer, and the Zoya. And I'm connecting to the mixer through these boxes. And there we go. Piano, OPZ. Okay, so the first thing I noticed was that the piano was a bit high compared to the OPZ that was a bit low. So just to make it simpler for any sound technician in the future, or the lack thereof, I try to make the line output signal like mixed. If you just set the mixer to 0, like now I've set the mixer to 0. I want the levels to be equal. Well, that's going to be like a good starting point. I actually had to lower the piano about 10 dB or something. I'm not sure if I should have raised the OPZ, but there you go. Okay, so let's have a listen to some of the songs, shall we? Number 1. Not too bad. Let's get to another place. Yeah. In that song, I feel like the lead instrument there is maybe a tad too high, and the kick drum was a little bit muddy, so I think I'm gonna try to take care of that, maybe. I think I'm just gonna lower that sound a bit. Okay, now I'm gonna isolate the bass and the kick and see which one is rumbling. Okay, so now it's just a kick and the piano. It's kind of a massive bass drum. Let's see what the bass does as well. Because I think what I'm going to do, I think the kick drum and the bass is competing, and what I'm going to do is separate them a little bit. So I'm going to lower the kick drum just a tad, maybe, and then I'm going to take the bass and cut it off a little bit on the bass, like make a high pass filter on the bass. Let's see what happens. Okay, so this is the cut off filter. I'm going to listen to both of them. So when I'm doing that, what I'm listening for is when the kick drum and the bass is not interfering anymore. So the bass is sort of a jolly movement in the bass there, and that doesn't perhaps go really well with the kind of boomy bass frequencies. So if I snag it off just a little bit in the bass, I think it's gonna fit this. I'm gonna separate the kick, and yeah. Yeah, already here a big improvement. I think also the lead instrument there is. I'm gonna see what the filter is like. If I can roll it off a little bit like a cutoff, maybe I could tame that a little bit. Yeah. now I think it sounds much better. And the sound technician told me that, you know, go down there to where it actually sounds much better. This is just slightly under a lower ceiling, so it's gonna cut off some of the sounds. When I go down there, I can hear it much better. Okay, now I've done all of that, I'm gonna take it back out of this project, pressing P and plus. Now this has a backup project file which can be recalled at any time. Okay, next project or next pattern is over there. This is just a starting point. I haven't finished the song, so I'm just going to take one pattern and kind of listen to it and see what it sounds like. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Next, project 2. Okay, and these, as you can see, it's just two patterns there. It's also just a starting point, so I'm going to listen to pattern 1. No objections, I think it sounds good. Okay, this one. Okay, let's listen to it. Sounds great. No change. Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. I've done a good job in the studio, or in my studio, apparently. So there's no like huge surprises, no like booming sub that is just surprising me. So I'm happy so far. Okay, next project 3. Okay, let's see what it is. Okay, so I'm going to listen for that. It's kind of the same lead sound as I had in the other song where it was a bit too sharp. I'm going to listen to it here and see what it sounds like here. That's good. And that mix, no issues. Okay, next pattern. Good. Oh. Okay, I might have to adjust this. So what's happening is that the lead track and the chord track is both melodic, and it turned a bit too loud when they're in unison. So on the chord track, I've got this sound. On the lead track, I've got So I'm going to take the chord track, turn it down ever so slightly. That crazy arpeggio, it might be a bit too much in the front. I'm going to move that a bit to the back by lowering the volume and adding a tad of reverb. So I'm going to take this track. Okay. Change the filter a bit on that. I think there is something boxy about the sound. I'm not sure if it's when the lead and the chord plays together, then it sounds a bit boxy. I'm gonna have a look at the filters, see if I've got the resonance up high on one of the sounds, and see what I could do. Indeed, on the lead track, the resonance is a little bit high. Okay. And now, in relation to this, the previous track, let's listen to it. Okay, it's actually split into two parts, two sort of songs, and it ends like this. Next project is full. Okay, it's full. Let's see what we have. So I chopped up samples, I recorded new vocals, and it sounds really nice actually. So I'm gonna just listen through the different patterns and see if there's something that stands out. I really like this new part, so I'm gonna listen to it. The vocals might be a tad too loud. I like that they're right there in front of you, and I think it sounds good, but a tad too high maybe. So with vocals, it's really difficult to set the levels. It's like micro adjustments, and you can't even hear it. And then suddenly, oh, it's too low now. Oh, it's too high now. So I don't know, I'm not sure why. But it's probably like the human hearing is tuned to hearing human voices. So if the human voice is too loud or very sensitive to that. So let's just tune into the vocals, which is on this track. So let's see. It has a certain vibe when the vocal is too high, and I like that. But if it's too high, then it's going, you know, out of hands. But if it's just right, then it becomes like a regular pop mix maybe, and then that doesn't sound really well. So I'm gonna have to jump back and forth to have a really, I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna micro adjust it. Listen again. Sometimes you just need to listen to yourself, to your emotions, and let them decide. I tune it down to where it sounded like a good part of the mix, but when I turn it up just a notch again, that's when I suddenly just smiled. I couldn't help but smiling, and you know, it's smile music, so I wanna have that smile. So it's a bit too loud, but that's it's making me smile. So I'm gonna keep it a bit loud. So what I'm gonna do now is save that preset. Preset 1. So now I can recall the levels on every track. Oh, the levels are not saved in the patch, in the presets, so you need to copy the setting from one pattern to another in order to make this quickly. So I could do that by doing this. Pattern. We're at this pattern now, where we made the change. By holding P and pressing Shift once, you copy the whole pattern. By pressing twice, you can see what's flashing up there. It's the parameters. You copy just the parameters over to here. So now I'm gonna go there and listen. However, even though I just set the levels on one pattern, doesn't mean that it's going to be the same level on all the patterns, because some patterns maybe it's a bit more sparse in the mix, and then you might want to lower this particular track. So I'm going to make some adjustments regardless. Okay, I'm pretty much happy about it, but it's the same thing with the bass and the kick drum. They're kind of competing. So I'm going to have a look at that and see if I could do the same thing now. So we've got this bass here. It is a bass after all, so you don't want to shave off too much of the bass, because then it's just losing a lot of energy and momentum. So yeah, just try to find that sweet spot where they kind of cross into each other but not interfere with each other. So now let's move on to the next project, number 5. Project 6. number 7.
She was some friend,
Number 8.
different friend. Wanna watch you grow.
Yeah, so basically that's it. I think it sounds much better than I expected. I expected there to be some really prominent lower and mid-tone issues that I had to tackle, but no. Like worst case, I thought like maybe that I had to go back and remake some of the samples, but no. All in all, I think I could address everything on the OPZ alone, and it sounds good. So the big question was coming in here: do I still need the piano? I haven't really answered that yet. So now I've put the piano kind of low in the mix, and in some of the tracks it's part of the arrangement, so it doesn't interfere, it doesn't rumble or create some unnecessary mess. I was a bit afraid if the piano was gonna introduce unnecessary mess, but no, I don't think so. I think it sounds good, so I'm quite happy with it. It is a little bit noisy though, the piano. I've compressed it on the Zoya, and compressing it I also raised the noise floor a bit, so I think I'm gonna make it not so noisy like a noise gate or something like it's very easy to address in the Zoya. I think what's left to do now is just to finish some of the arrangements, also finish the vocals on 1 or 2 or maybe 3 tracks, and then just run through the set a number of times until I feel happy about it. So yeah, this was really helpful. This is very good. So I'm just gonna end with a lovely shot of me dancing to one of the tracks.
Different friend. Wanna watch you grow, girl. Friend. Different friend. Wanna watch you grow, girl. Friend. Different friend.